since we're now doing West Rock at 7:30 in the morning instead of 7, are you still hearing me?
Yeah.
Okay, because it doesn't sound to me like it's working.
Speak right into it.
And of course, check the page just to make sure we haven't changed it. If something else comes up, we might be doing it on Sunday. So one of these days, Neighbor to Neighbor is going to be back, and that'll be a permanent change once a month. Saturday, the 15th at 3:30, we're meeting at the East Precinct to have a little support your local police rally. Like to see as many faces out as possible so that they know the people out here appreciate them also. We've got an unscheduled, at this point, cleanup happening on the corner of 97th and Glenwood. I'll have more information sometime in the next week. We'll see when the demolition's going to happen and when the property owner wants to get in and clean it up. We're taking out a pile of blackberries so the new property owner can put up a fence to stop people from driving their cars through his front yard and onto the spring water, which is wonderful. And on a sadder note, for those of you who may not have looked at the page, Ken died last Friday morning, Ken Herman, and he was one of the first people when we first started doing this way back when. He was one of my first neighbors that joined us. At this point, there's no memorial or anything, but I just thought I'd share that we had lost Ken. So, Rich, you're up first. Rich is from PBOT, and he's going to tell us what he can and cannot do and when he can and cannot do it.
Thank you, Penny.
Thanks, Rich.
My name is Rich Thallheimer. I'm a parking enforcement officer for PBOT. I'm a lead officer for what we call the vehicle inspection team. Can you hear me okay? So a brief overview of the vehicle inspection team. We were created because of an uprising in people living in their vehicles on the streets in Portland. Our goal is to go out, engage with the folks living in their vehicles, attempt to connect them with social services, and do everything we can to clean up. We use Lance's crew a lot at Rapid Response. We use Clean Start. We have a connection at Cascadia Behavioral Health that helps us connect with other resources throughout the city, Join, Transition Projects. And we've established relationships with most of the clusters of RVs and car campers that you see around town. My main area is Southeast Portland. I'm very familiar with 92nd and Crystal Springs, Foster, Harold, you name it, I'm pretty familiar with it. And I've established relationships with most of the people in those areas. A brief overview of our process. These are some of the warnings or notices you'll see on the vehicles. The purple one, we work with the Abandoned Auto Division because most of the vehicles qualify as abandoned vehicles under city code. They're the ones who get tasked with coming out. If the vehicle's occupied, or if it's an RV, it gets reported to Abandoned Autos. I have business cards up there. It has a website you can use to report abandoned autos, by the way. So if you see the purple tag, this means we came out, we looked at the vehicle, it doesn't meet the abandoned auto criteria, we're just politely asking them to move their vehicle around every now and then so the neighbors can feel comfortable that it's not just sitting there day in, day out. Is there a requirement that they do? Not really. So this just means, hey, we came out, we saw your vehicle, could you just please move it every now and then? That's the purple tag. The notice is something we've developed recently as a mechanism to engage with folks who are living in their vehicle, or if there's a question about whether or not someone's living in the vehicle. Sometimes we look at a vehicle and you can't tell if it's occupied or not. And so we leave these notices with our phone numbers saying, hey, please call us. If you don't, we may make actions that you won't like towing your vehicle. So knowing what is going on with that vehicle helps us a lot. So this is just a notice. It's not punitive. None of these are punitive. So that's the notice. The green warning. The green warning is what is used by abandoned autos and by the vehicle inspection team. It outlines the vehicle meeting the abandoned auto criteria, or it could be prohibited. Trucks, trailers, RVs, motorhomes, semi-trucks, utility trailers are all required by city code to be stored on private property. So this is the code we use to alleviate some of the situations where somebody's got a bunch of trailers on the street and they're collecting scrap. We can tag it with the green tag, and after 72 hours we can follow up, tow it, encourage them to move, encourage them to clean up the area. Towing is always the last option. So that's the main items you're going to see on the vehicles that we put on. So prior to COVID, any vehicle displaying expired registration, flat or appears inoperable, i.e. a flat tire, the engine parts hanging down, wires ripped out of the dash, all of those things would have qualified it as an abandoned vehicle. Since COVID hit, we want to make sure people have a safe place to shelter if they're living in their vehicle, or even if they're not living in their vehicle. If their registration's expired, there's a hiatus on that based on the governor's request. We're not using that as a criteria anymore. But the other criteria, so we've really elevated the criteria during COVID to include missing a wheel, engine's gone, something really drastic, so we know that it's a junked vehicle. We're calling those junked vehicles. After the pandemic is over, we're probably going to go back to using the regular criteria, which is appears inoperable, expired registration, smashed windshield, things of that nature. So we're kind of limited right now through the pandemic. So I had a list, forgive me, I had a list, but I left it at home of topics. So we did send a crew out yesterday to 92nd and Crystal Springs. They did find, I think, 3 stolen vehicles out there, a moped and maybe 2 cars. The crews engaged with the folks down there. We know a lot of them by name. Encourage them to move, find another place to go. And that's kind of what we've been doing through the whole pandemic. You know, once somebody gets settled in and they start overflowing onto the sidewalks and impeding people's access to the sidewalks. I know that the trails down there to the bike trail, the multi-use path, and it really prohibits people's access without having contact with other people. So that's the goal down there, is to have them move to another place. We can work with them at another location. I think based on what I've seen, they're getting hostile towards people who are taking photos of their vehicles, and so we want to alleviate that. So us encouraging them to find another place to shelter is one way we can address that. So I understand all of this, the situations around your neighborhood. We do have a lot of other neighborhoods that are 10 times worse, believe it or not. And they're more industrial areas, so they're not really affecting neighborhoods as much. And if they do become crime hubs or situations where they're dismantling vehicles, we encourage those folks to move along as well. Our ability to tow a vehicle, we're not going to tow anything that is occupied unless it's an immediate safety hazard. Even then, we may tow it at the city's expense, just to another location, so it's in a safer situation. So, trying to think what else you might have questions about. I left some business cards up there. They have my city cell phone number on it. If you ever have a question about a situation that's going on, feel free to call me. I work Monday through Friday, 7 to 4:30. I've got my city cell phone with me pretty much all the time. Feel free to call me. I think, yes, sir.
So I'm curious, do you deal anything, I think you mentioned the bike trails. So the bike trail from south of 92nd and Crystal Springs, it's practically blocked with campers, and I don't know if that's rapid response also. But I can't get through there without being closer than 6 feet because they're like halfway across the trail.
So, in case you didn't hear, the question was, what about the bike paths, and if I have any jurisdiction over the bike paths? And unfortunately, PBOT doesn't. At least I don't. I deal with vehicles on the public right-of-way. You can report those situations through one point of contact or PDX reporter, and they would send a crew out to evaluate it and rate it. And Lance says crew probably end up posting it if it meets their criteria.
We're not posting right now.
So they're not posting right now.
We can talk about that when it's our.
I'll let Lance handle that.
We're talking about cars now.
So, but if anyone has a situation where they have people living in their vehicles and they do have a lot of excess trash, you can call me on my, leave me a voicemail. Let me know that there's a lot of trash nearby. We can go and we can talk with the folks. We can order a cleanup crew to come out. And some people are very possessive of their belongings, and to you it may be trash, to them it may be the most valuable thing in the world. We can come out and have them just put a pile off to the side that we know is trash, and Clean Start, which is a great program through Central City Concern, they'll come out and they'll abate it. So I'm sorry I don't work on the multi-use paths.
I'm curious, doesn't the city still have an ordinance where you have to move your vehicle every 24 or 48 hours?
So the 24-hour rule
Yeah.
is only if there's another violation. One of them would be expired registration, which we're not enforcing right now, or meeting the abandoned auto criteria. This was a big issue over by the Lloyd district, where people were, actually Hollywood district, where people were parking in the neighborhood, jumping on the train, going up to the airport and taking off for weeks. They brought up the 24-hour rule. I haven't enforced it in the 20 years that I've been at PBOT, because it's only, we only use it when it comes to enforce the abandoned auto code. And we give 72 hours for those warnings. Does anybody else have any questions? I feel like I'm rambling.
Just keep rambling, Richard.
I can ramble. Yes, miss.
When you tow, where do you tow it to?
Great question. So, in the beginning when we were towing vehicles, they would go to the tower's lot. That was we had a tow contract, and they would go to the tower's lot. Then the towers would auction them off. And sometimes the same people who had the vehicle impounded would buy it back for $1. There were, and Lance can speak to this later, it costs a lot of money to decommission a motorhome. Upwards of $2,500 to $3,000 in some cases, maybe more. So at one point there was a rumor that some of the tow companies were actually selling them for $1 and offering to tow them up to 25 miles away for free. So to stop that cycle, PBOT decided we were going to use the police evidence lot to store the vehicles for 30 days. And at that point they would put a lien on it, take possession, and then we would have them dismantled by an authorized dismantler. So we started that process to eliminate the cycle of the same vehicles coming out, or somebody else acquiring the same vehicle and us impounding it multiple times. That being said, when we do tow someone's RV, we do not charge them tow fees. We do not charge them storage fees. They can have their vehicle back if they can show 3 things: proof of ownership, current registration, and proof of insurance. They can take it right off that police evidence lot. Typically they don't have that, unfortunately, but there's no tow fees, no storage fees. When we do tow a vehicle for abandoned autos, there are storage fees incurred, and after 16 days the vehicle is, the tower takes possession and auctions it off of that. So we can't really control that process because of the contract we have already in place prior to this program. But that's what happens to those vehicles. When we go out to a vehicle, whether it is, if it's occupied, whether it's a passenger vehicle or a motorhome, we use a matrix to score the vehicle. Our matrix consists of several things. How many individual complainants we have, and that's an important thing, and Penny will attest to it. Individual complainants is what we need to help rank the vehicles. If we get 0 complaints, I'm not allowed to put the green sticker on. Even though the vehicle could be falling apart, if it's occupied, I can't put the green sticker on. So reporting the vehicles is important, and we don't mind if we have multiple reports on it. If you call it in once, we've got it on file at that location. You don't need to re-report it. But if we've got other people who see it and report it at that location, we'll add them to their caseload, to the actual case, and then it would help boost their matrix score. Another thing is trash and debris. sanitation, proximity to a school, a church, or a park. Those are all things that we would use to rank it and score it pre-COVID.
And leaking bodily fluids.
Leaking fluids is something we refer over to the neighborhood response team. And I believe they would refer it over to BES, or BES, Bureau of Environmental Services, would refer it over to the police.
They don't have time to look.
It's complicated. In some instances, we have actually called rapid response to come and pump out their tank. And it's not pretty. Yes?
When you go down and talk to these people, have you had any luck getting any of those people into any kind of services?
We have. We just yesterday, two of my coworkers, two of the vehicle inspection team officers, were contacted by Northwest Pilot Project.
Yeah.
They want to do a piece on them because they helped at least two people get into low-income housing.
Oh.
Both of them were males who were over 65, living in their vehicles, and them reaching out to Northwest Pilot Project allowed the conversation to start, and at least two people have been put into some of their housing that they offer. I've had people come up to me and tell me, you know what, towing my RV was the best thing you ever did for me. It forced me to make the hard decision on what I wanted to do with my life. And unfortunately, sometimes that's what people need. Not always. Some people are very vulnerable. But we don't always have the luxury of knowing, just based on a vehicle, what the story is behind the person in it. And sometimes we never encounter the people. So right now, since COVID hit, with this high threshold before we tow, we pretty much are just responding to ones that are obviously not occupied. They're typically burnt or stripped or left on their axles, which is a challenge. We have Lance's crews come out, clean them out, get them safe to be towed down the road, wrap them up in some cases so the debris is not flying out on the road. So that's kind of the pattern we're in right now. We used to have 6 officers in 3 teams going out, and right now we're down to 4. All of this, because of safety, we have to work in pairs. At any one time, we've got 150 to 300 different cases we're working on at the same time throughout the city. So we're spread pretty thin. That's why if someone reports 92nd and Crystal Springs, we may not get to it because literally we've been out in North Portland addressing really, really, really bad.
Do you have any idea what happened to the camp that was down here on Flavel under the tree? Just up and moved one day.
The one by the water drain?
Yes, yes.
I have no idea.
Isn't that weird?
It's nice.
It is.
Well,
I had a
it's
question.
nice, but I just wonder where they went. You know they went somewhere, Penny.
I have a question back there,
How
sir.
many cars or how many vehicles are you handling, like in a month?
In a month?
Yeah. Or whatever period you got. Yeah.
So it's hard to say because a lot of the vehicles we've had cases on for sometimes 2-3 years. We encounter the same folks over and over again, just moving. They're pretty nomadic. They move from location to location, which is great because I know you may not like this, but if we can just get them to move to another location, hang out for a little while, and then move to another one, then everybody's sharing the burden equally of living with people who are down on their luck, as opposed to somebody staying in one spot and just making a mess. Some people do that. So I looked at our cases today, and right now we have about 200 that are either new intakes, which are fresh calls, or have been warned, or we are just monitoring. Typically all the ones that are occupied, we put in a monitoring state because we're not going to take any action because they're occupied. We will go follow up and just engage with them, see if there's anything they need. We give them water. In the wintertime, we give them blankets and hand warmers, and sometimes items out of our first aid kits. So that's what the monitoring does. The warned ones are the ones that are obviously not lived in, and we just want to get them off the road because they're junked. They're attracting vermin. Other things like that. And then the receiveds, usually we get to them within a week or so, depending on schedules. We all had to take a lot of furloughs, 64 hours of furloughs each one of us had to take. That is all done. So we're just playing catch up.
So an obvious junker might sit around for a week.
It depends. If it's occupied,
Unoccupied. Obvious.
unoccupied, we would probably turn that over to our regular abandoned autos. They would come out and tag it. It could take a week or two for them to tag it. And then right now, because of COVID, they're waiting a week instead of the 72 hours to follow up on it.
Okay.
We want to give people ample time, if they were sick, to be able to quarantine and be able to have ample time to move their cars. To answer your question.
Pretty much.
I was just curious, the 92nd Crystal Springs, I've seen particular vehicles and people that have been there for years, and this doesn't coincide with it 72 hours. So how do they keep on staying there?
I know who you're referring to. I know him by name.
Yeah, me too.
When I started doing this 3 years ago, he was one of the first people I encountered. He was living in a motorhome. I've seen him in probably 15 other vehicles since then. At one point, his van didn't qualify as an abandoned vehicle. We had no reason to put a green tag on it. So we would just go out and engage with dialogue. Ask him how he's doing, ask him what his plan is, give him pep talk. We give tons of pep talks to people who are, yesterday I had at Delta Park, I walked up and there's a kid passed out in the front of his car with a needle on his lap. And I get, hey, sir, I understand you're in no condition to move your car. I don't expect you to, but have you thought about maybe getting some help? And his girlfriend chimes in from the back, yeah, I want to get some help. And we have a navigation team going out to that location, offering outreach, so hopefully they'll take advantage of it. But this person down there, they've become accustomed to this certain lifestyle, and changing that behavior is difficult. I'll never say that I have a degree in mental health or behavioral health. I've learned this through my own experience. I had a drug addicted sister. I didn't grow up in the best home. To be honest, I thought I was going to grow up and be a criminal. And I had somebody do that same thing to me. They sat me down and said, what are you doing? So I use that experience, or those experiences, to try and to let people know that you're not alone, and there's another life out there other than this. So back to that person. I won't say his name. I know his name, but I won't say it. He's got some issues, a lot of insecurities. He has difficulty working with other people, like having a boss. He's got issues with that, and he just is constantly occupied by just trying to survive day to day. We're encouraging him to find another location to alleviate the situation down there. 92nd. 92nd is pretty bad. In the last month, there's probably been about 6 or 8 more vehicles show up. So we're going to ask those people once again to try and find another space to occupy. Yes, miss.
Do you have any programs to help females specifically, or any programs to help stand out?
If we use this, everybody can hear your question. Do you guys have any programs to help females that are homeless or maybe in bad situations, or that are getting out of domestic abuse situations with that sort of stuff?
Unfortunately, PBOT does not. We do have contacts. I have a great contact named Kim at Cascadia Behavioral Health, and they offer a myriad of services there. We reach out to her in situations like you've mentioned, and she'll come out or send one of her representatives out to come out and talk with those people. I've had a couple instances where they've taken women to there's a secret women's shelter. They won't even tell me where it's at, even though I wanted to follow up and make sure they're okay. They said, "Okay, we can't tell you." So yes, we do have a method, but is it 100%? No. I wish we did. I wish we had our own social worker that we could use, because Lord knows we need it. Rapid used to have one. Two, and they were great, and they helped people. They had kits for women, hygiene kits, and I think budgets are tight, right now our program is unfunded, so you won't see us rolling around in a vehicle with an E plate on it because we had to rent vehicles. You'll see I'm driving a RAV4. There's someone else in a Chevy Equinox, someone else in a Ford EcoSport, and another one in a Ford Flex. So some people are wondering why we're pulling up in these vehicles with regular license plates on it. That is why.
Secret.
Because it's cheaper.
It is. And then some people have mental issues and they're like thinking it's a conspiracy theory, and I have to put their alleviate their fears. But that's why you'll see us rolling around in vehicles that are different than the typical city vehicle. But back to your point, women out here, to me, women and children are the most vulnerable. Sometimes when I get an opportunity, I'll take a woman to the side and just to look right in their eye and say, are you in a safe place? And they'll tell me truthfully sometimes. I just want to, I don't know if it's the how I was raised, but vulnerable people to me deserve to be protected. So I do that, and typically the majority of them say they are, even though sometimes I don't believe them. But I offer them pep talks too. There's a way out. You deserve better. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I asked that because I've went and bought like food and water and supplies before, and out of everyone that I've given it to, the people that always needed the most were the women, especially like with feminine hygiene and stuff. And so that's why I was asking if you guys were able to help them in any way with that.
And like I said, we do the best we can. I plan on getting feminine hygiene kits. I just have to find the right ones. I'm probably going to reach out to the outreach workers and see what they use. For instances just like that.
I think the navigation teams carry things like that and provide it.
Kim is part of the navigation team.
Yeah, I mean, Rich just basically is dealing with cars, but the social workers are with the navigation teams, and they do provide feminine hygiene and counseling, and they'll hop you in a car and whisk you off to safety if you say, yes, ma'am, I want to go. That's why they're out there.
Yes.
It's a different meeting.
Yes, miss.
Do you tow boats?
Yes.
Yay.
And if you look in the flyers I bought, there's a picture of a boat that somebody made into like a 2-story structure. And my understanding is they wanted to put it in Johnson Creek.
That be Caveman?
It wasn't Caveman.
Oh.
But this was nearby off of.
Yeah, it was in my hood.
Yeah. So yes, Abandoned Autos does tow boats. Boats both on and off of a trailer. You would do that by reporting it on my business card at the bottom. There's portlandoregon.gov/abandoned. That will take you to the page with a link to report abandons. It'll give you a phone number to an actual person to report vehicles that meet the junk criteria. A boat on a trailer or a boat would meet that criteria at this point. Any other questions?
Do you have Tiffany Griggs is still out here?
Tiffany is.
Okay.
She typically works nights.
Oh, okay.
I was on one of the, we have a service provider call every Friday. I heard her a few weeks ago. Tiffany does great work. She works for Clackamas Service Center. She's been there, so she knows what these people are going through, and she's a very, very staunch advocate for those folks that she helps out.
Yeah, we had a woman the other day, well, it was weeks ago now, that her boyfriend was harassing her, and she ran out to us. That was one of the names she brought up. If I could call Tiffany, and I said, yeah, she's on the phone.
Yeah, Tiffany's great. We work with a lot of great people that I don't think get the credit they deserve. A lot of this is we're all put in situations where most people don't ever see. I mean, you see it going by. Actually, I've seen you out there cleaning up after them, Shar. But getting into relationships with these folks, there's some pretty sad stories out there. So we do our best to try and prop them up to move to a better place. Metaphorically, not physically.
Do you think Ivy Lakes will help?
I'm hoping Bybee Lakes will help. It's a private organization.
Right, I know.
I can't speak to it as a representative of the city. So I think they've got great intentions. They've got a great facility. My understanding is the facility was made not to be a prison, but as a transitional facility to transition people out of prison and into normal life. So I think it's got the capacity or the ability to be a great transitional place, because people who've encountered homelessness, they have trouble readjusting sometimes. And so I think I'm hoping it will be a great asset.
One thing to remember about Ivy Lakes is that is a treatment facility, not a shelter.
Right.
So I think a lot of people will be disappointed not realizing what its exact purpose is. So,
okay. Well,
and
see,
you know, it's terrific. I mean,
my understanding was they were going to be working with the people that are in the shelters that want treatment, that wanted help, to want, get out of that life.
I knew it was transitional. I didn't know to what extent.
Yeah.
But they have to be referred by an agency.
Yeah.
They can't go knock on the door and say, "Hi, I want to get clean."
and it has to be a pre-approved agency, I believe.
Right. Yes, they have a list that they will deal with, because there's no sense wasting the time and the effort for somebody that just wants to get dry for a couple of weeks, get out of the rain in the wintertime, and then as soon as it quits raining, they're back out. They have to be committed.
Is there anything else anyone has any questions about that I can help answer? Was that a hand back there, sir?
Oh, that was a wave hello.
Oh.
Hello to you.
Hello to you too, sir. Somebody, I thought I saw something that somebody posted about. I looked at your page before I came over, and somebody mentioned they reported a campsite at Swift Court and Columbia Boulevard, and it was in response to the 92nd and Crystal Springs. And we've been out there many times. All of those vehicles are occupied. We're doing the same kind of thing we're doing on 92nd. We're encouraging folks to move, find other places. And there's a lot of street racing out there, and a lot of those vehicles. There's another street over there that people do drifting.
Oh, down here on that. Did you come on down today?
I did not.
All the circles and burnouts and.
Well, we've got like hundreds of cars out there in North Portland, and several of the houseless folks have had their vehicles hit. I know at least 2 people have had their vehicles hit by the street racers, and they'll either ditch the car because it's not theirs, or they'll just take off. So, anyway, that's a side topic.
They're getting there down 205. You know where I live? There are nights when those street racers are so amped and ramped that sitting next to my neighbor, we can't converse because of them heading down 205 going north. Can't call the police. By the time they get here, they're probably in Vancouver.
No problem. All right. Thank you all for having me out. I hope I answered your questions.
Thanks
Thank
a
you
lot,
very much.
Rich.
You're welcome.
Okay, Lance, you're up.
I'm going to have Nick. I was just going to say, just to let you guys know what Rich is saying, is that we get those RVs when they've been released. We have the contract with PBOT to dispose of those, and we do get those in. Don't think that they're not being towed and they're not being processed. They absolutely are. I think since we've had our facility, since we've been doing, we've done close to 500 of them. So some are pretty bad, but I really want you guys to know that what he's talking about does actually occur. All that stuff really does happen, and you guys are welcome to come by anytime you want. But I really want you to know what he's saying is true. So you guys, this is Nick Schaefer. Nick's one of the rapid response supervisors. I'm gonna let him.
Hi, my name's Nick. Thanks for inviting Lance and I out here with you guys. I'm the supervisor for rapid response. My area is the spring water all the way out to 175th, and then the MUP all the way up to Airport Way. I wanted to come today just to kind of let you guys know who I was, kind of see some more faces. I recognize a few of you out there. Thank you for helping us when we're out there and helping identify things for us. I'm going to leave my stack of cards out over here. I don't mind getting phone calls from any of you guys, letting me know if you see something that's going on that we can go look into to kind of help you guys out, being homeowners out there. I don't mind my 6:30 phone calls daily, usually from Penny to hear how her morning's going and talk with her while she's doing her walk. And I talk to Char and David quite a bit. So I'll leave my business cards over there for Rapid. Feel free to call me if you guys have something in your neck of the woods that I can come help out with to get cleaned up. As you guys know, we're here to clean up the trash. Right now we're not moving campers due to the COVID, so we're doing the best we can to go to these campsites, conversate with the campers there, let them know we're there to get the trash from them, see if we can do the best we can to thin them down, because you know, like was mentioned earlier, not a lot of people are moving around, and they really build up. And you know, we'll look at something, we think it's trash, they say it's not, so we talk with them, and you know, we're trying to thin them down out there. They're human beings too. You know, I try to go out and conversate with them, ask them how they're doing. I'm always have cases of water and electrolytes in my truck, so if I ever come up on anyone that I see is dehydrated or needs anything like that. Just out there working the trail. I try to drive up and down the trails at least once every day just to kind of see what's going on out there, because as you guys know, living out and around here, things change hourly. Sometimes for the best, most times not. So I like to, another reason by being here, I like to get my hands on it because I like to help out. I like to be involved with it. So that's why I came here. So thank you for bringing us out here tonight to be involved with this here.
I know Penny has some flags,
Yep.
don't you?
Like poop flags? The
Yeah, I
famous
probably
poop
need them.
flags?
I probably need them for the trail team.
Hard-
There's a couple of bottles down there.
Sure.
on the
Well,
map that
I
left.
keep telling
Okay.
you, go to Home Depot and buy them. They come in packages of 25.
Oh, okay.
But you need to tell when you call in there's a poop flag out, because all the guys that work, at least in my neighborhood, everybody is taught what a poop flag is.
She's got us trained.
I know.
It's part of the introduction
I
to
should ride on
rapid.
them because mine are trail team.
There you go. Yep. Question over there.
So do you do the, I brought it up earlier, the bike trail on I-205 south of Crystal Springs
Yes.
to
So,
Johnson Creek?
yep. So we
That's been really bad the last.
in fact, we were just there on Wednesday
Okay.
and did a clean through there. That area, I mean, it was talked about here with the PBOT as well. That area seems to collect a lot of trash around there. I've got a schedule worked out now to where I'm going to be hitting the Knapp Street here on Mondays and Fridays, so that way we can get it before the weekend hits and then right after the weekend hits. So I'm trying to get the same schedule. We were pushed back off the trail for a little bit, so it kind of built up. So we're trying to play catch up right now, and I mean, it's of course not perfect out there, but I can see to where we're getting to a point where we're going to be able to start touching the sites more often, and I like that because it's getting us engaged with the campers. They're seeing us come around, they know that someone's there checking on them, getting their trash from them, and then that just helps us thin it down. And so I see we're getting to that point now to where we'll be able to come into Crystal Springs over there maybe 3 times a week, and some of the times we may be there just for a half hour, which would be great, but sometimes we may get there and there could be a big pile and a bunch of shopping carts, and we'll be there for a while. But my goal is to try to hit these sites as often as we can, just to show that we're around, and you know, kind of help keep them out of trouble a little bit is kind of what I say.
There was a report. We did the up down by Waters. That's Rich on Harold there. We went north and south. When we were heading north, there was a biker that came down towards us, and he said there was a couple in a tent that were basically right on the edge of the MUP, and they were harassing him. Have you run across those two?
I haven't run across those two
There's
there.
a male and a female. He said the
Okay.
male started yelling at him, and the female actually came at him. She started running towards him on his bike. And I knew it wasn't any good to report it because, I mean, how do I report that? I mean,
This, people are. It's a crazy time. People
know.
are all, everybody's all fired up right now.
Yeah.
The heat.
Yeah, it gets warm and
yeah, no,
stuff.
he was highly upset because he was just riding his bike and trying to get through there, and they were obviously trying to stop him for some reason.
We, believe it or not, we also hear real regularly. Not that I'm trying to flip the script here, but we do hear from campers that the neighbors and stuff like and
Yeah.
both ways. So yeah, it's pretty common to hear, somebody's bothering somebody, and it goes both ways. So.
Yeah.
And I'll leave my card there. I don't mind. I work Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30. But I mean, Penny's called me on a weekend here and there. I don't mind hearing about it because I know it kind of sets my mind for my Monday when I'm coming back with if there's a situation in the jungle or if it was on Knapp Street or so. Don't hesitate to call. I mean, I'll always answer. I don't think I've not answered Penny even in the early mornings or the weekends. So,
Give it a couple months.
Yeah.
Hey, wait a minute. I just paid it.
Yeah.
In cookies.
Yeah.
In cookies.
We'll work for cookies.
Yeah.
All right, just thank you, one or the other.
Well, we don't actually have a budget. I mean, we have a contract amount is essentially what it is. So
Contracts haven't been.
no, not at this point. I mean, we're responding based on need and what we're asked to provide. We don't determine how many people we have out. We don't, you know what I mean? So we're, the city asks us to staff up to a certain level or, have certain equipment to deal, But so no, at this point, we're still within our original scope of work, really.
And you were mentioning earlier about them blocking the trail. So when I get to camps like that and I see they're blocking the trail, I'll talk to the campers and we'll get all the trash from them, but I'll kind of mention it's a safety thing for them. I mean, not only for people going by on their bikes, but it gets dark out there. Those bikes are riding fast. I mean, those tents aren't going to hold the bike from running through a tent. So I mentioned for them it's a safety thing, not only for the bikers, but for them as well. You get multiple bikes going down there flying pretty fast, and they could take out a tent, and that's going to hurt somebody. So I kind of explain it to them that it's a safety thing for themselves as well, depending who they are, just depending how they take it.
So I noticed that, like you said, a lot of these camps are getting stronger and more united and bigger. But at the same time, I noticed that a number of camps are actually being meaner. Like they put their garbage in bags and make a pile. And like there's one towards Division.
Yep.
Basically a chop shop, but it's actually pretty well kept. Are you providing do-it-yourselfer kind of thing?
Well, so is what we'll do with the COVID is, we're trying to keep 6 feet and things like that. So we're showing up to the sites and we're getting what's obvious trash, and not everything is trash to them. And so is what we'll do is we'll mention that, hey, we're going to be back now on Friday, and here it's Monday. We're going to get all the trash we can from you guys right now. If you can help us out, get trash in a central location so that way we're not bothering your items there. If you're not around, we can see what's trash and we can attack that trash pile first, and then we can go. And so I'm glad that you noticed that, because we are starting to train, I say, some of these camps to start working with us. And believe it or not, a lot of them are doing it. I pull up and I'm like, oh good, he actually listened, and we have 5 bags there, so it's they're working with us as much as people aren't thinking that they are. So
No, oh, go ahead.
no, so as she's mentioning is, y'all might have seen the camp that's on the corner right as you come out of Knapp. There, it was right by the bus stop there.
They moved. They're
And
in the back. They're in the back.
Is that where you think
No,
they?
that's a different camp.
Okay.
Those are different people.
So they just up and were gone. They left all their stuff, and is what I'm starting to see is, I mean, we're not moving campers now. Sometimes I'll pull up and there'll be 5 people that have been there for 3 months in a row, and all of a sudden the middle one's gone. And I'll go up and just kind of ask around, well, where'd they go? Oh, they get in a fight with their neighbor. So what I'm seeing is some of them are moving around because they're kind of getting in little altercations with themselves, and then one will go straying off away is what's kind of going on.
Well, they kind of have their own thing going. They have a clothes.
Yeah,
Oh,
clothesline. They were
yeah,
washing their
yeah.
clothes in the little creek there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they had it going on there.
Nick, you might address why you all are standing around dumping bags out and refilling them.
That's where I was going to go to next,
okay.
and I was going to thank Char here. So we have them bag up their bags, or we try to, and some of them are working with us. And when we get to those camps, we're required to go through those bags. So every bag, no matter what it is, we will dump it out or cut it open some of the campers are asking us, why are you looking through my stuff? Are you trying to find the good stuff out of there, you know? And so is what we're doing is we're pulling all the needles out of there, the propane canisters, knives, things like that we don't want to get into the landfill there. So we're going through with our sharps gloves and tongs and pulling all the needles out of there, putting them into the sharps containers and getting rid of the hazards out of those bags, because I appreciate that they bag them for us. It just helps keep the clutter, but we can't trust that they're not going to have needles in the bag. So we're going through that to just get all the contaminants. Don't tell Bob.
Don't trust Bob.
Yeah, you can't trust Bob.
No,
And then
he just puts everything in the bag.
so Char didn't know why we were doing this. So she's nice, and as if you looked up NAP, she's got our bags ready for us for our tomorrow cleanup on NAP there. And she's talking to me one day, and I think it was me or someone else. I just take one of her bags and I just dumped it out right in front of her, and she's thinking, I just cleaned the whole street up. You know, what are you doing? And I explained to her the needle thing. So is what her and David have done is they've gone out and got a little sticker on there, and they put it on the bag. So I know that her and David have picked up those bags there, so she is not putting the needles and propane things in there as well. So that was something that she did to help us out. That was very,
That's why we
very
carry
grateful
sharps
of that.
containers.
And yep, that's why you got your sharps container there.
So we have had a very significant problem with guys getting poked in needles from
I
the
bet.
bags that we haven't checked.
That's why I said don't trust Bob, because he'll stick anything in the bag.
Yeah.
I'm guessing we've had, believe it or not, probably 20 in the last year.
Ugh.
Yeah, and it's the thing is that you, and I mean, we haven't had one out of a bag for a while, but we had a pretty significant issue leading up to us needing to check all the bags. So, you know, those guys are heaving them up there and they're getting poked in the arm or poked in the thigh or something like that. So, you know, everybody's making a huge effort to clean their sites, and obviously that's really appreciated, but that is one of the consequences of just throwing everything in the bag. So
No,
the other...
I talked to Bob. He won't do it. I said, Bob, if you would separate... No, I'm not going to do it.
Well, the other problem is at the dump at Metro, you know, when we take that garbage in, man, if they find anything, they lose their mind. I mean, they, you know, for a while they actually had us going to another area to dump just so they could look at our stuff. And so there's a huge effort that goes into keeping everybody happy on the backside of everything, you know. So.
Do you guys go down to like the Johnson Creek wetlands and clean any of the stuff? Because it seems, I don't, like last time I went down there was no garbage, and there was just like
So the
garbage.
Johnson Creek wetlands.
I think
Oh, the
floodplain.
floodplain.
Yeah, because like last time that I went down there, which was like a month ago or something, there was no garbage cans, and so then there's garbage everywhere. There's like dirty diapers, you know, containers, needles, like everywhere.
Sure. And yeah, that's another team takes care of the foster floodplains out
That
there.
was something that Parks mentioned, Susan. He said it'd be nice if you would let her know, or someone in Parks know, when you guys are doing the foster floodplain, because that's Parks, and they cover it. We have events down there with Saul in the park.
Sure.
So if you just sort of coordinated so they know when you're going down there
Yep.
cleaning, so they're not going down the next week and doing the same.
Sounds good. I'll make a note of that.
That's-
Yep. That's a great idea. Yep.
How about the area by Plant Pantry? That area back there, there's always campers.
Oh, right down there. on
Still
110.
foster floodplains.
Yep.
That's how
Yep.
we define
Oh
it.
yeah. And that
That whole area.
that whole area along Foster there is growing, as I'm sure you guys have seen
big
there,
time.
and yeah.
So, you know, we don't determine what's a clean, you know, we're basically, you know, we get there's a list of areas that we work on. You know, we can provide some input, but it's really, you know, when somebody wants us to go over there, somebody from the city wants us to go over to do something.
I'm trying to get Susan out to do foster flood on a regular, because they had it scheduled for every month.
Okay.
And I'll let you know.
Yeah,
if they
yeah,
start
Well, we
getting
could
that.
definitely help with the needles and bio.
Oh yeah.
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 Go ahead, Mom, sorry.
So you supply these camps with bags and
So
stuff to urinate in and
so
all
we'll,
of this? Or?
we go around and we have our own trash bags. We pick up the trash in. We have buckets that we put the bio in. We have needle containers as well. And what we'll do is we will offer a couple trash bags to a tent. So we'll gather their trash, and then as we go, I'll say, here's a couple trash bags, you know, so they have something to clean up. We've given our buckets with lids on them, different sites where they stress that they're needing buckets, we'll give them buckets. I've handed out needle containers to people who want to pick up their own needles as well. Yep.
So
we pay for all this, the taxpayers, we pay for all this.
So just one thing to know, so the white bags I think that you see actually come from Metro. Those bags have a barcode on them, they get tracked. The blue bags, like the sky blue bags, actually come from Clean Start, and they're really more the ones that hand that stuff out. We will always give somebody a couple bags if they ask us for it, but everything that Nick's talking about is an our cost to the city. I will tell you that with the buckets, I had somebody from the Arts College in Portland, and I can't remember the name of the college now, but her thesis was on public sanitation, and so we actually worked with her. I bought a bunch of buckets and a bunch of the toilet lids that go on the 5-gallon buckets, and we handed oodles of those out with a phone number to be picked up, and made a pretty significant effort, and we just got no return on that, and I don't think we've ever found any of the so that didn't really work out like I hoped it would. I kind of envisioned that we could leave these buckets with people and we could swap them out or something like that, but it didn't really fly. There is a pretty big push coming up. We're going to really enhance public sanitation. I don't know if you guys know anything about that, and I don't even know if I can talk about it, but maybe to your guys' disappointment, but I'm very happy about it. There's going to be a lot more porta potties that are going to go out with hand washing stations inside the porta potties, and there will be sharps containers in the porta potties as well. So to very bluntly answer your question, are you guys paying for that? You guys are paying for it, but it's nothing extra. It's all in the services that we offer, if that makes any sense. So.
Who's sneaking the orange bags out? The ODOT bags are out there now too.
Yeah, that's ODOT is orange.
Yes, I want ODOT bags.
They've been the ODOT. They've been doing some cleaning. I've seen them on Burnside in the MEP. Yeah, they are doing some cleaning. So yeah. And if you guys see the clear bags, those are property bags. Those are bags, but you guys probably don't run into those.
The parks uses the clear bags, because when we did the spring water,
Oh, do they?
Yeah, she had the big clear bags.
Oh.
For cleaning.
So I'm curious, who do you contract with? Is it with PBOT? Is that who your contract's with? The city, or?
Our primary contract is with OMF, Office of Management and Finance.
Oh, okay, so OMF. Okay.
Yeah, so we do have contracts with PBOT. We also have them with Metro, Multnomah County. We also do City of Gresham, City of Vancouver. Yeah, so it's OMF is our primary contract manager.
That's the one point of contact is,
Yes, yeah. And you guys all know that number, 823-4000. Everybody knows that number, so. You guys
might refresh some people's memories about the IGA, and just because it's ODOT property doesn't mean you complain to ODOT because there's a camper on it, because it has to go to 4,000.
So, do you know that one, Nick, or no? So within the city of Portland, and I'm hoping that I'm not giving you guys bad information, but the city of Portland maintains the ODOT property within the city limits through that intergovernmental agreement. Outside of the city of Portland, they just hired a new contractor. I believe it's River City Environmental, I think, is handling all of Region 1 outside of the city of Portland, I think. But still within the city of Portland, it all goes through one point of contact in OMF. So ODOT, I don't really think has anything to do with structuring or setting up the cleanups or anything like that I know of. So yeah. So you would still report that stuff through the regular one point of contact within the city.
All right. Well, thank you guys for your support. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So can I take one more minute of your guys' time?
Or two.
Or two maybe. I don't know if you guys will think that this is something fantastic or not, but does everybody know here that we are also in Lents? One of our big location is in Lents, in Freeway Lands. I don't know if you guys know that or not. So this is our neighborhood also, and I know that there's obviously been a long-term problem with sharps and things like that on the ground. We handle all the medical waste pickup for Multnomah County, and we also do, I don't know if you've seen the sharps boxes. Metro is now in charge of those sharps boxes. We empty all of those. What I want to tell you guys about is we actually have a pretty new, incredible process that's in your neighborhood where we're recycling all those materials from those needles. So it's about 6 tons per month, and we have a giant, super fancy machine that all of those needles and sharps containers go in, and it gets ground and heated and pressurized, and everything comes out sterilized. And then we have a process where we're separating that material, and we're able to take the plastic and recycle all the plastic. We're able to take the metal, recycle all the metal. And so with the sharps, basically, with the needles, we have a zero waste. So none of that stuff is going in the landfills.
So what are they doing with the material once you separate it?
Well, right now, just for fun, I made cups.
Oh, okay.
So if everybody wants to take a cup, you're welcome to it.
Oh,
But
you should ask.
These are the materials from the needles.
Okay.
Is what it is, and that's.
Oh, it looks familiar.
So, and what's funny, I didn't pick this. This is just how it came out when they all melted. So I'll put some up here if you guys. I got oodles of those if you want to go. We're the only ones in the world that I know that are doing this, and it is a. Oh, thank you, I appreciate it. It is a substantial effort with really very little reward, but
We appreciate it.
No, and this is happening in your guys' neighborhood. If you guys want to come by and take a look, you're welcome to. But it's been a pretty neat thing so far. So
Now, why don't you maybe put your little logo out?
I do have stickers, but I got to do it by hand, and I'm a pretty lazy guy. So, anyways, yeah.
Is that 6 tons just in our neighborhood? Or
No, I'm sorry. That's what we do. We do about 6 tons a month.
Okay.
With all of our collection.
Okay.
Just our neighborhood.
Go ahead.
One, I want to say thank you for trying to lower your guys' waste with it and
sure.
zero waste for that stuff. And do you guys just make cups, or do you guys make other stuff too?
No, so really the cups are just an example that the material can be used. And the cups are just funny because who would think about drinking out of
A needle.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So
I'm still thinking about it.
you're still no.
Put a plant in it.
There's that plastic. I've gotten requests from tons of people for that plastic. I'm actually saving it for one particular company. At this point, they're called Agilix, and they are a big recycling company. So I'm waiting to see if they're going to use it before I start releasing it to other places. But we're actually giving it away for free, the material. We have probably, I don't know, about 10 tons of it right now that we have backed up and ready to go. But it's and obviously the metal can be recycled. It's stainless steel, and the rubber can be recycled as well. So there's but it's the process of separating that material is really what the struggle is getting all that material to separate. So
Do you guys sterilize and clean the needles before you melt them down, or?
Nope, they all go into this machine, and the machine it's like a pressure vessel with a garbage disposal in it is what it is. And so when they come out, everything is completely sterilized. It's pretty incredible. So.
And your facilities here in Lent?
Yeah. So, well, and I don't know if you guys know this now, but all those RVs come into Lents too. When they all to be processed, they all come here. So there's a lot of stuff on the remediation ends that happens right in your neighborhood you guys may not know about. So, yes, sir.
How long does it take you to decommission an RV?
My guys are pretty good. It takes us maybe about 15 minutes, 20 minutes.
wow.
So, well, yeah. I mean, we're we're set up for it, though. We're very specific, so you know, and I take that back. You know, we have to drain all the fluids out and things like that ahead of time. All the gray water and sewage gets taken out. But once it's ready to go, they pull it in and they rip the top of it off with a backhoe, and then it gets pushed over, and the guy starts cutting it up with a plasma torch, a plasma cutter, and then like the whole entire front ends will get loaded in dumpsters, and then it all goes out for recycling, and then the garbage gets loaded in dumpsters and it goes for waste. So yeah, so we can move pretty quick. So, but that's after a long time of trial and error. So. Well, I appreciate it, guys, if nobody has any other questions. But like I said, if anybody wants to check out what's going on, please call me and let me know. I'd be happy to meet you over there. So I think Penny's been over there.
Yeah.
It's not as fancy as it sounds, but...
No, you want your hip waders in the wintertime.
Well,
Don't go in sandals.
It tends to, and there is an odor at times, just so you know. So, yeah.
Next to West Rock, you hardly notice.
Oh.
Yeah, you'll notice.
Oh, I have oodles of those things if you guys want a whole set. So yeah, let me know.
I told her
No,
let her parents drink out of it before she tells them what it is.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
We'll use them for the thank you barbecue.
There you go. That's a great idea.
Yes, we'll just set those out in September at the barbecue and let people play with them.
If you guys look back, Channel 2 just did a story on the thing. I don't know if you saw that or not. But what was funny is when we were done, I said, "Here, you guys take a couple cups," and those are the only people that have said, no. Which I thought was weird. I just had spent tons of time with this guy showing him our process and everything, but he didn't want them.
We'll use them.
All right.
Are we done, Penny?
Well, it looks to me like we're done.
Wait, I got something.
Cindy, go for it, Cindy.
Hello, neighbors. I'm your friendly census taker. So if you haven't done your census, go online. You can do it, or somebody will be knocking on your door. But it's a good thing. It's for the
Randy
community.
has a question back there.
Yes.
I've gone online and filled it out, but I get census cards 3 or 4 times a week. So I just
You're
go on.
special.
Yeah.
You're special.
So should I come on again?
Don't tell him
No. Just
There's one person in my apartment, maybe I made a mistake.
Yeah, maybe you can do it again. And I've hit a couple people today where today's my date too, doing this. Is
it really the law to do that?
No, there's no consequences. It's more for a community thing, though.
Okay, yeah.
It's you get statistics. You get how many people live in this area and what's their age. Okay, that's why they ask that. Do we need seniors? Do we need hospitals? Do we need more schools?
Yeah.
So that's why they ask those questions. It's really been very fascinating, and I'm sworn I'm a federal employee and I can't talk about it, but very interesting. I'm pretty sure you can.
Yeah, I know. I ran back home.
Right. I get one to your mom. So, yeah, just call, and you do it on the phone, or you can do it on the computer. Thank you, neighbor.
Thank you.
Huh?
That's what I
Yeah, it was
They
much
wanted to
earlier.
know. They wanted to know where you were on April 1st. That's the drop dead date. Okay, 2020. Where were you living April 1st? That's the question. And how many people lived in your house or your apartment or whatever? So, got any questions? It's an itch, and they're hiring still.
I know that.
They're still hiring, so they need to get more and more people. No, I think it's But you know what? The next census will be perfect. I'm sorry I didn't start this earlier in life. So,
Thanks, guys. We appreciate all of you coming out here after a long day's work.